Hey guys, my name is Courtney and this is Creative on the Cheap. Today I've got some fall DIYs. Let's go. For the first DIY, I'm going to be repurposing this sign that I got on clearance from Hobby Lobby. Now, if you don't have a sign like this, you could pick up one of Dollar Tree's canvases or even one of their picture frames. They even make 11 by 14 frames and 8 by 10 frame. You don't have to have this exact thing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get this cardboard off and then take some painter's tape and tape around the wood. And then I'm going to take some of the Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster, and I'm going to end up putting 3 coats on this so that it has full coverage. Once my sign is all dry, I took some washi tape and I decided I wanted to add some stripes to this sign, but I wanted to make it a little different. I didn't want all my words and my little pumpkins that I'm going to be adding to be centered, so I decided to do stripes down the left side along with the bottom. So all I'm doing is laying down a piece of washi tape, using washi tape as a spacer, and then doing another one so that I'll have 2 stripes running from the top of the sign to the bottom, and then 2 stripes running from left to right on the bottom of the sign. Once my washi tape is down, this is what it looks like. Now in the bottom left corner here, you'll see where the washi tape overlaps. You want to make sure you're going to have to do a little bit of trimming so that you can make sure your lines connect. Then all I'm going to do is take some of the Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, and I'm just going to go in. I'm not trying to get full coverage here. I was kind of undecided, honestly, if I wanted to have like super harsh, dark black lines or if I wanted it more distressed. So I just kind of went in and filled it in until I was happy with how it looked, but it's up to you. And of course, you don't have to use black. You could use brown, you could use moss green, you could use orange, you could use whatever color you would like to help enhance your sign. Now that my sign is set up, I'm ready to work on my pumpkins. So this pumpkin I cut on my Cricut Maker using chipboard. It was the very first time I've ever cut anything. I did not film or anything about that because I feel like I need to do it a couple more times before I can maybe show you guys if that's something you're interested. So just let me know down below. And what I needed to do was mix up some colors for my pumpkin. So originally I was only going to put 3 pumpkins on my sign. So I took some of the Deco Art in the color Monarch chalk paint, and I mixed in some of the white chalk paint with it to kind of get that light color. Then I have the Deco Monarch just by itself, and then the third color is also again the Monarch, and I'm mixing in some of the Truffle Brown Waverly chalk paint to get a little bit of a darker color. So these were originally my 3, and then again, like I said, I'm going to end up adding a 4th pumpkin and just kind of again mixing the colors to get that 4th pumpkin looking good. So now I'm just going to paint all the segments of the pumpkin, and then I'm going to let it dry, and that's that. Now I'm just going to take my pumpkins and lay them out on my sign, and once I got the 3 down, this is when I realized, okay, I think I need a 4th pumpkin, and I definitely wanted to get the 4th one down before I put the wording down because I wanted to make sure that it all flowed and looked really nice. Then I just cut out some permanent black vinyl and I went ahead and stuck that down on my sign. I just used my Cricut Maker to cut this out. And then the next step was to go ahead and start gluing down my pumpkins, and I'm just going to use some hot glue to glue them down. The final step was to go ahead and glue a raffia bow to each of these pumpkins. I just took a piece of raffia, tied it in a tiny bow, and just using my little hot glue gun there and just sticking those down. And this sign is all finished. the second DIY, I'm going to be using this little rolling pin. Now, a while back, I had painted this white, the center white, because I thought I was going to use it for something, and then I squirreled and didn't use it. But it's going to be covered up with this scrapbook paper, which you can always find at Hobby Lobby. They have it every single year, and I just absolutely love to use it every single year. And then you're also going to need some paint. So I'm going to be using some of that Monarch chalk paint from Folk Art, and then I'm also going to mix a little bit of the white chalk paint from Folk Art into there just to kind of lighten up the orange just a little bit. And I'm going to use this paint to paint the handles of my rolling pin. I grabbed my paper cutter so that I could cut my scrapbook paper, and all I'm going to do is just take a ruler, measure the length of the rolling pin in the center there, and then go ahead and trim down my paper to whatever size I need. Then what I did was just take a little bit of Mod Podge and paint a thin stripe across the center of the rolling pin, stuck my scrapbook paper on there, wrapped it around, and then did one more thin stripe of Mod Podge. I did not coat the whole rolling pin in Mod Podge. That was just a personal preference. Up to you if you want to do it that way, but I just didn't want to have to even deal with any kind of bubbles that might pop up, so I did it this way and it worked out great. Once the paper was secure, I took some brown cream wax, my good old standby from Hobby Lobby, and I rubbed it all over the paper as well as the handles. And then once that was done, my original plan was to take some twine and wrap it around one end, and then I was going to tie a bow and add a bow to it, and then possibly work in some berries. And I went through the process and pretty much almost got it all the way there, but I don't know, I decided I kind of just wanted something a little more simple, not with a bow or berries or florals or what have you, but I did want to show it to you in case this is something that you do like. But in the end, I end up ripping it all off and just leaving it plain. For this DIY, I am using another sign that was on clearance from Hobby Lobby. Here I'm showing you what the sign looked like before I chopped it up with my handsaw. I just turned it over and sliced the back. Now, if you cannot find this, all you need are 3 type plank, anything plank. You could use painter sticks, you could use foam board, you could use popsicle sticks that you stack and layer, so you definitely can get this look very easily. Once that was cut apart, then I'm just going to take some Waverly white chalk paint and I'm going to paint one good coat all over the sign. The white chalk paint is dry, so now I'm going to take some Waverly chalk paint in the color Moss, and again just doing one coat on the front and the sides of this little sign. Okay, now it's time to make wheels. So hold the phone here. I took these 2 mason jar tops and I went outside and I spray painted them. I know, those of you who've been with me for a while know my deal about spray painting. If you haven't, let's just say I have a hate-hate relationship with spray paint. So I did spray paint these, and now what I need to do is just work on the little spokes for my wheels. So I'm going to use some dowel rods. These are the short ones from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go ahead and mark them and then go ahead and snip them down to whatever size I need them to be to fit inside of these little black wheels. So what I ended up doing here is I have one dowel rod that's a solid piece, and then I cut 2 small ones to go at a diagonal and 2 more small ones. So essentially this has got 6 little pieces coming off, and then the center little hubcap is one of the wood slices from Dollar Tree. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. You could certainly just take a piece of cardboard and paint it black and stick that in the center, but I wanted to leave my dowel rods the natural color, and I thought the wood little hubcap would look nice on that. Now, just to secure these pieces, all I'm going to do is use some hot glue, and I'm just going to put them in there and then kind of continue to put the lid of the mason jar in there just to make sure that it all fits. And then once all the little pieces are secured with hot glue, I'll just make sure to fill in all the cracks, glue it a little bit on the back, and then just glue my little wooden hubcap to the top. Now again, if you didn't want to leave these natural wood color, you could paint them black. You could use a little centerpiece that's black. You could use a centerpiece that's painted gray. It's up to you how you'd like to do it. Now I'm trying to figure out how I want to attach the wheels and do the handle. Originally, I was going to put a dowel rod that went across from the two mason jars, and I will say that I did go ahead and attach one there, but what really needed to happen to make it super secure was I probably needed to drill a little hole into the thing, and I was like, you know, I don't think it really needs it that bad. So I end up not putting that little crossbar between the two wheels, but I am going to paint all of these dowel rods black, and then I'm going to trim them down to whatever size I need and kind of figure out the configuration, and eventually I get it figured out. It's time to attach the wheels. So to do that, I'm just going to take some hot glue and stick it on the top of the wheel and then stick the wheel to the bottom of the wagon. Now, I did this because I possibly might break this down later on and do something else with it, or I just may want to take the wheels off. I don't know, but if you want a permanent hole, I would go ahead and recommend that you either use some of the construction grade hot glue that SureBonder has, or possibly even just some E6000 or the Gorilla Strong Adhesive glue. Then once those were on, I took this long piece here that's going to be kind of my long handle, and I made a little tiny handle, and I'm just gluing that to the top with some hot glue. Then I'm going to flip it over and take one of the little pieces and glue it to the front. So this piece was about 4 inches long. You can make it however long you want, depending on where you want your handle to meet up with it. Now, this is a stencil that I did make on my Cricut, but I do have a free printable down below. If you want to print it out and put it on something, you can certainly do that. What I'm doing now is just taking some Mod Podge, and I am doing a thin coat over my stencil to prevent my paint from bleeding. Now, originally I was going to try to get a new stencil brush, and because I'd been talking to Jennifer for a little bit of Common Crazy, and she had recommended, she's like, hey, just get a really good stencil brush, and the one I have is not very good at all, and I haven't done that yet. So I'm definitely going to try that next time and see if I can get away with it not bleeding and not do the Mod Podge. So for this time, because I'm using regular paintbrushes, I am doing thin coat of Mod Podge, and then once I get that on there, I'm going to let it dry almost all the way, just to where it's just a little bit tacky, and then I'm going to go in with some of the Waverly chalk paint and the color Plaster, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint over my entire stencil. While the sign finishes drying, I took a little piece of cardboard and I'm just cutting a very tiny circle with my little circle scissors here. I get questions about these when I use them. They are very nice for just cutting free-handed circles. I'll link them down below if you're looking for a really good little scissor. And this is going to go right here kind of at the joint where these two are going to meet. But I'm going to go ahead and paint it black first so that it doesn't just stick out like a sore thumb being white. And I'm going to let that dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to start working on my pumpkins. So for the first pumpkin, I'm just going to use this Dollar Tree 3D pumpkin that they had. This was the only one I was able to get in the fall stuff. My store just really didn't have much fall stuff, so I was lucky that I kind of had stock left over from last year. I'm going to take off the raffia bow of it, and then I'm just going to use some of the Plaster Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just going to go over it and not totally cover it all the way. I want some of the wood to show through, and I'm just going to give it a nice coat of paint. Then for the other two pumpkins, I'm going to be using these little wooden ones from Dollar Tree as well. And I forgot to mention the holes I just filled with some spackling that I had on hand. So one of the pumpkins, I'm just going to brush on some of the Monarch chalk paint by Folk Art. And again, not trying to get super full coverage, just trying to do kind of a distressed look. The other pumpkin, I'm going to use some of the Waverly pumpkin chalk paint, and again, paint it the exact same way, just brush it on till I like how it looks. And then once that's done, I'm going to go back in with some of my brown cream wax and a makeup sponge, and I'm just going to kind of hit it here and there with a little bit of the brown wax. For this plaster colored pumpkin, I also decided to go ahead and brush it with some of the brown cream wax. I'm just going along the edges, and I'll go along the edges on the inside as well, and then I'll end up just hot gluing the raffia bow that was on it back onto the pumpkin with some hot glue. Now it's time to go ahead and try to get these pumpkins arranged. So I just kind of have them set in there. I did end up wrapping some twine over the stems of the two orange pumpkins. And then I put a piece of foam board on this one right here that I'm hot gluing in, so it will kind of have a little bit of depth away from the plaster colored pumpkin, because I didn't want it to just be glued flat to it. And so now I'm just trying to kind of piece it together, and then I'm just going to hot glue these pumpkins directly to the back of my wagon using some hot glue. I wanted to add some more texture to my sign, so I took a little bundle of florals. These were actually left over from last year from Dollar Tree. I bunched them up, and I'm just attaching it to the back of the big pumpkin with some hot glue. I did see some of these florals this year at Dollar Tree, so I think they do have something similar if you can still find fall stuff. Then I took my little long handle here and hot glued it to this little, I don't know what you want to call it, hitch sticking off of the wagon, and then my little black circle, so that got all secure. And then the last thing I needed to do was add a hanger to the back. So I took some of this rope, which I got in a huge like roll from Amazon. I love this rope. It actually worked out to be a much better deal than the Dollar Tree nautical rope, but it is thinner. I do get questions about it. I will link it down below if you're looking for a good rope, but I really, really like it. And I'm going to attach this with a whole ton of hot glue. Yeah, it's going to look wonky, but it is what it is. Now, if you wanted to pretty up the back of this, I would recommend taking some small pieces of felt. That's what I often do sometimes, and just cut a felt square, and you can put it over the florals there, as well as your two little spots where the rope's attached if you want to kind of pretty up the back. Here it is, the world's easiest fall DIY, and it's a Dollar Tree DIY, which makes it even better. Grab yourself one of these styrofoam pumpkins from Dollar Tree, take off the stem and flip it over. Grab yourself an X-Acto knife and go ahead and cut a square at the bottom of the pumpkin. If you don't like squares, cut a circle. If you don't like circles, cut a triangle. If you don't like triangles, cut a star. I don't really care what the shape is, as long as you cut something on the bottom that gives you access to the inside of the pumpkin. Now, as you can see here, I changed knives, and you're probably thinking, why did she do that? Well, I'm trying to make this look hard. My blade fell out of my other one, and I was too lazy to put it back in, so that's why I grabbed another knife. It has nothing to do with the fact that I couldn't cut it with that one. I just was being lazy. Once you've gotten this successfully cut, you now have access to the inside of the pumpkin, and you can either use fairy lights or you can use one of the battery-operated candle votives from Dollar Tree. Then you just need a stem. This stem is from Dollar Tree as well, but you know my thing, go out in the front yard, grab a twig, pull one off your neighbor's tree. Hey, it really doesn't matter. And what are you left with? This awesome pumpkin that will glow at night. It's so pretty. I will say it's a little rough during the day, but at night it really shines. This last DIY is also a Dollar Tree DIY. So for this one, you're going to need a charger and some of the sticker letters or stencil, whatever you want to use, or if you have a Cricut, you certainly could cut the vinyl out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out all the letters so that I can spell Gobble on the top of the charger up here, as well as Gobble on the bottom. I'm going to stick these letters down. Now I will say that I did wipe this charger down with some rubbing alcohol because I wanted to make sure that the stickers stuck, because I plan on painting over the stickers and then peeling them off. So I am using them like stencils. Once I knew that all the letters were down securely, I took some of the Waverly chalk paint in the color white and I brushed it all over the charger on the front and the sides. And then once I got the paint down, I did let it dry for just a little bit, not completely dry, and then I peeled off all of the stickers. Once the paint was completely dry, I took a piece of 220 grit sandpaper and I went around the edge of the charger as well as around the edge of the center of the charger, and I felt that it just kind of made a nice difference and made the plate a little more pronounced, especially in the center of the plate. And I just wiped it off really good after I did that to make sure to get any of the little paint dust off of the plate. My last step was to attach this turkey. This was a little banner that I picked up last year from Dollar Tree, and I ripped off the little felt turkey and his little bitty legs, and then I just hot glued this turkey down to the plate, and that was it. That's all this plate is. It's a simple little gobble gobble with a felt turkey on top. If you can't find this felt turkey, number one, you certainly could just cut one out yourself and get some felt and find a little template on Pinterest and make your own. Or you could even just paint a turkey on here if you wanted to. It's whatever you want to do. Or Dollar Tree also has the little turkey wooden pieces that you could get, and you could paint that and stick it on there. So there's a couple different options you could do if you can't find a felt turkey. There you have it, 5 fall DIYs for you. Let me know down below which one of these was your favorite. I always love to hear from you guys. And also let me know what you plan on doing for Thanksgiving this year. And here you go, a little more crafty chat with Mr. Cheap.
Do I know why before you stencil this with paint that you put Mod Podge on top?
Mod Podge, yes. Like, why am I putting Mod Podge on this right now instead of painting it? Why do I do this first? That's what I'm asking you.
So it sticks better?
No. You clearly don't watch my videos.
I can't watch the ones where you say Mod Podge because you say it wrong.
I don't, whatever. Oh my gosh, you just said Mod Podge. Mod Podge.
So I know, because I didn't want to offend you.
Uh-huh.
Or make you angry.
So you don't know why I do this?
Because you scare me.
Uh-huh. It prevents the paint from bleeding on the wood.
Just don't stab the paint and it won't bleed.
Oh gosh. So you really are just going to keep working from home today? No need to go in the office or what?
What are you saying?
I don't know. Just wondering how your day's going at work. I mean, this is your 3rd time up here. What are you doing?
Whatever I want.
Please don't mess up my stuff. I don't know why you think you can do whatever you want in here. This is not your space.
Do you have little sticks?
For what? What do you need sticks for?
My name's Olaf and I like warm hugs. But he needs like little stick arms.
Gosh, babe. Olaf is not made out of wood.
But he could be. We could call him Woodloff. Name him Fallow.
Fallow?
Yes, F-A-L-O. It's Olaf backwards, but don't tell.
What? Oh.
And he's not from a movie called Nezroff.
Oh my gosh.
Why are you smiling?
I'm not. This is my face of disgust.
Sure looks like a smile.
It is not. Definitely not a smile. Okay, so why did I put the Mod Podge down? Were you listening?
So that when you stab the paint, it doesn't bleed all over the place.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Your battery's about to die on your camera.
Thank you. Great. Welcome back. Alrighty. Really, you don't have to stay in here. Oh gosh, please don't touch my ukulele.
It doesn't play like a guitar.
Well, that's because it's a ukulele. If it played like a guitar, it'd be called a guitar.
Okay, so on a guitar, this string at the top would be the lowest note, but that's not what it's doing here.
It's because it's a ukulele. That's all?
Well, I don't know how it works.
Oh, that's a shame. Now what are you touching?
Whatever I want to.
Gosh. Baby, stop playing with the lighter.
Does it say autism?
What? No, it doesn't say autism. It says autumn.
I don't know. You painted over it. I can't read it. Oh my gosh. Your candle crackles.
Yes, I know. I like it.
It's very cozy.
You're such a dork. It is very cozy. It's like having a little fire inside of here.
And the way that candle smells makes me feel grateful.
Oh my gosh. Like, what are you doing today at the office? I mean, somebody...
Why do you have another lighter?
Because that other one is dead. This one works.
So why did you put the letters on if you're just going to paint over them?
This is a stencil. So when I pull this off, the letters will be there.
Ew.
I didn't attach vinyl to this.
Ew.
Yeah.
I thought the letters were stuck on.
You thought I was going to leave it like this?
Normally on a stencil you want to roll across it with a roller,
Oh
not a
gosh,
brush.
babe. Be quiet.
My guys paint stencils all day long. I taught them how to do it.
On basketball courts. How long are you going to stand there?
I'm learning. If I have to make a craft, I have to learn.
Oh gosh. When are you going to make your craft this weekend?
Right now.
No, I can't while I'm still working. You have to wait till I'm done.
I'm not a regular crafter. I'm an advanced crafter.
Oh no.